All right. See, I forgot something. I was talking the whole time and I forgot to press the unmute button. So let me just repeat myself. Welcome to day 14 of Build a Store in 21 days. My name is Alaa Hassan and welcome again to another session. For those who are joining in right now, please let me know in the comments if you hear me, you see me, all is well. Get the technology out of the way. I see Katrina, Aya, Jean-Yves joining in. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Always familiar faces. Perfect. Let's make sure everything is set up on my side. How are you guys? How's everyone doing? We had snow today here in Montreal, and I always make this joke that as soon as March kicks in, my friends, my wife, and everyone else start telling me that, oh, summer is almost, spring is almost like here. And I say, yeah, but there's always one day in April where we're gonna get it all ruined for us. And today seems the day where it's not a big deal, but we thought winter is over, but snow again. All right, so I see people joining in. Excellent. So let's get started immediately so that we cover exactly what it is that we have to do. Today's topic is going to be about adding content to your legal pages. And I left this towards the end only because it is important nonetheless. But what we're going to do most of the session today is use templates. Now, one thing you got to understand, there are two pages that you will need to add to your online store. One of them being the privacy policy. And if you want to really differentiate between a privacy policy and a terms and conditions policy is really the following. The privacy policy protects the customer. You're telling them exactly how you're going to manipulate their private information, how was their information saved, and all that stuff. So again, it protects the customer. That's the privacy policy. When you think about the terms and conditions, it's now, and again, see, I forgot. I just realized that I haven't even shared my screen yet. So hold on, let me just share my screen. There we go. All right, let me do this again quickly. So again, today's topic is about legal pages. There are two pages that you guys need to consider adding to your website. The first one is the privacy policy, and the second one is the terms and conditions. Now, the difference between both is very simple. The privacy policy protects the consumer. You're telling them exactly how you're going, what type of information you're gathering from them, and how is that information going to be used in the future? Is it going to be shared with anyone, and so on and so forth. The terms and condition protects your business. You're telling them exactly if they are thinking about purchasing a product from you, they have to abide by these rules of your business. And that's how we differentiate between both legal documents. Now, I want to give you a couple of tips for each one, just like as always I do every single night. But there's one thing I need you to understand. When it comes to anything legal, as well as accounting, I always say speak to the experts out there. Seek legal advice if you have to. Anything I'm about to share with you should be taken into consideration that it's a recommendation, but if you're not sure, you need to speak to a local expert. And every country is different in terms of the laws pertaining to privacy, terms, and all that stuff. So again, I'm going to show you best practices, but really please, I just want to put it out there, disclaimer that you should seek legal advice to ensure that you are abiding by all the rules within your city, state, province, or country. There are a lot of templates out there that you could use on the internet. But one thing that's great about Shopify is they provided you with some tools and templates that you can start with. There's nothing wrong with starting with those first, and eventually as the business grows, you may look for advice. That's your decision. But again, it's more than enough to just get started. You have something. What's important is to have those pages created inside your store, because it's a requirement, especially when you are trying to set up your payment providers. They will look for these pages. Again, it's a requirement to have them. My additional tips are make sure that these pages are also included in the footer, not just in the checkout process, but in the footer of the website, which we did yesterday. You saw exactly how I put in the links to the terms and conditions privacy policy within the menu in the bottom of your website. The last thing I would recommend is to at least review it once a year. Make it a habit of adding the date on top of each of the policies, saying last updated, the date. Make a habit of doing that, because sometimes rules change. For example, a couple of years ago, Europe has implemented something called the GDPR, which is a way for specific rules and guidelines in terms of how companies are allowed to deal with with shoppers that come to the website or website visitors. There's certain information that you should not keep stored in your servers. Some of the stuff should be made possible for users to just delete. Very technical stuff. Every country may have certain rules change. So if you make it a habit of reviewing your privacy policy and your terms and conditions pages at least once a year, you will be on the safe side. So these are the only tips I have for you. And let's get started immediately in helping you add those specific pages, the content to those pages, because we already created them. I want to mention something. I realized yesterday that there is a section inside Shopify that is dedicated for legal pages. So I went about it two ways, and I'm going to show you that. Now, before we get started, make sure to go inside Units, Day 14. And what I put in there is the toolbox for you. If you go right under Task, you just click on the link here. And you'll notice that in case you do not have already a Shopify store and you want to be able to see what kind of template you can have, then inside here, you'll notice, I think it's in the second section, Privacy Policy Generator and Terms and Conditions Generator. If you click on these tools, you don't need to have an online store to see what type of template will be made available to you. But inside Shopify, there is a section where it automatically takes that template and puts it inside the page. So I'm going to show you that first. So you can go about generating a policy, privacy policy and terms and conditions using those two links by simply filling out the information. So privacy policy right here, I'll skip the trial, fill out the company information and send the privacy by email. You get a link and then you can copy paste it. And the same goes with the terms and conditions, okay? But inside your Shopify store, so let's say you log into your store and you go on the left-hand side and you click on settings right at the bottom here. And then on the right-hand side, there is a section called legal. Let me just turn off, okay? So right here, you have a section called legal and I click it. You will notice there are certain sections in there that we've already covered in the previous days when we created those pages. For example, you have the refund policy, you have the privacy policy, which we're going to cover today, terms and conditions, and the shipping policy. Now, the difference between how I did it a couple of days ago and this here, it's really the following. If you put in the information in those sections here and you fill it out, these pages will show up in the checkout. When people add products to the cart and they want to go complete their purchase, the links to those specific policies are going to be visible in the checkout. Unfortunately, I can't show it today only because we don't have payments yet set up. So in the coming days, we're going to set up payments and taxes and all that. So then I'll show you exactly what I mean. But for the time being, we're going to put them in two places. We're going to put it in here, and let's say we'll put it, depending on, you have both options. I say, you know what, do both. But sometimes you forget, maybe I have 2 pages of terms and policies. I have 2 pages for privacy and policy, privacy terms and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, we'll see exactly in the next coming days, maybe the best approach, and you choose the best one for you in your case. But for me right now, at this point, I just want to show you all the options that you have available so you know where you need to update those pages. Again, any questions in the comments of the video right now, just make sure to put them there and I'll cover them. So the refund policy, we already covered it yesterday. So again, if you notice, you can easily create a template and boom, this is exactly what we did yesterday. You do it right here and you modify it, okay? In our case right now, if I go back to the website, the demo site, and I go all the way in the bottom, the returns policy is right here. So I can just copy it or go to the page, copy the content, and put it inside this section here. Okay, I'm just going to leave it there for now, so at least you know this is where you can also include it. I'll save that. Then you have the privacy policy. All you have to do is click on create from template or use this template here. Either or, it's the same thing. I'm going to go back here, create from template. And don't just save immediately. please read it. Just spend a couple of, not even like, I think it's like 2 minutes, because there are certain areas that you have to fill out. So you'll notice that a lot of it is typical. A lot of it is a typical statements that you would expect to have in an e-commerce website. So when you start reading, you'll notice that there are certain places where you need to insert additional content. So insert descriptions of other types of tracking technologies used. If you're not sure, don't put anything. If you're sure exactly what it is that you have there, put it. If not, just seek legal advice. Again, even if you notice here, Shopify is putting a disclaimer to please seek independent legal advice before doing anything. Okay. My recommendation is to do that first if you want, and as well as look at the competition. People in the industry right now, some competitors, other online stores that are selling, go to their terms and conditions and their privacy policy, and just compare. This is the template I got from Shopify, and this is what's written on a known brand. You don't need to go to the biggest brands, because if you go to Amazon.com, for example, their terms and conditions and all that is like a book. You don't want to bother with that. You would want to go to a similar, let's say, Shopify store, or just a simple online store that has the type of product you're selling. And you try to compare your privacy policy against theirs and see if there's any missing areas that you need to incorporate in yours. So that's one of the best approaches to me before you go out there and you launch your website. So you do this with the privacy policy. Make sure you read everything and make sure that you cover all these areas. So insert any other payment types accepted. So they mention all of these here, but in case there's something additional, they allow you to add it, and you just go through it here. Insert any other information you collect, offline data, purchase marketing data list, if you've done that. If you haven't done so, just remove it, And that's it here. So I'm just going through the list. You'll see a bunch of them. And that's it. And I have a fake address here that I put in. So your address will be in the bottom, and your contact information has to always be included. And you save that. So we've added now the privacy policy, the terms and conditions, the same process. Click here. Again, go through the whole. This one is a little bit longer. So again, you want to make sure. I would rather have extra stuff being said, than remove certain parts and then regret it. I would rather just go with the template, have as much information as possible. Again, most people don't even bother reading it. I always tell my friends, these 2 pages are made for lawyers, but you just want to make sure that you have them and you follow best practices. And if you feel like you're uncomfortable still, just seek some advice. And there's a lot of websites. If you just go out there on the internet and you search terms and conditions templates, there are many blog posts written about the topic where they give you some pointers and advice on how to handle it. In case, especially if you're in a category that you're unsure in terms of how to go about generating these things to protect your business, whether you're in food business or there are certain restrictions and rules within every industry. So again, take those extra hours to do some of the research on your own time to make sure that you're going to feel comfortable and confident that you have the right legal statements included on your website. So you do the same thing with the terms and conditions. Honestly, this is the most boring part of e-commerce, I can tell you. It's taking care of these things. Every time I'm launching a store for someone, or we're working with a client, or this or that, these pages are the most annoying. And sometimes you have to deal with lawyers back and forth. It's just a pain. So I save this. Now, the shipping policy, we created a page yesterday. You can just copy the content that you have there and put it inside the shipping policy if you want. But at least now you know there is a section inside settings and legal that is dedicated to those legal pages. And those pages are going to show up. Let me see if there's a website. I think Pura Vida Bracelets is a website on Shopify. Pura Vida Bracelets. So let me go here. I think they're on Shopify. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just buy some items, and I'll just show you. I'm not going to just add them to cart, and the pop-ups have started. Let me just add something. Add to cart. All is good. Where's the checkout? Oops, there's a minimum of checkout. Oh, they have a minimum now. You see all of these distractions that came right now. I got to do this and I do that. And I'm like, okay, I just want to add something to the cart and leave. Almost there. No, I'm good. So now I have enough minimum. So let me check out. These guys are big, by the way. So I may be saying things right now. So notice right here, let me bring up the window a little bit. Right in the bottom of the site, you'll notice they have the refund policy, privacy policy, and terms of use, terms and conditions. They have it right here. Okay. So if I click on it, this is what happens. What's great about this experience is when people are checking out, you don't want them to go to the terms and conditions page and forget about checkout. Instead, they do a pop-up, which is great for the checkout process. Okay. The same goes with the privacy policy and also the refund policy. So you see the experience there. If I'm not sure if I should buy from this website or not, I can click on these things, but I'm still inside the checkout process. Now let me go to their website in the bottom, in the footer. Let me see if they have, yeah, they have the privacy policy. And there you go. Exactly my point when I said they might also create their own page specific to the privacy policy. Like you see here, and you have the terms of use also right here. So again, you will need to create pages and you will have it also as part of the checkout. When they click on it, it pops up. So that's why it's good that we covered it. Now, again, one thing I'll remind you is when you're creating those terms and conditions and those templates, I would say do this as well. So if let's say this is the privacy policy, I would recommend you do this last updated. So I will put, let's say, April 9th, 2020. And I do the same thing. So this way you don't also lose track of when was it updated from your side. And I save it. And that is it. That's what we're going to cover today. So again, you see it here. I'm going to go to the website. If I scroll all the way down, I didn't add them here, so I would have to do this. So let's say, for example, privacy policy, copy everything. I go to the store, pages. I go to the privacy policy right here. Again, when you're watching this video on your own time, you can pause it. I mean, I'm going fast right now only because I know that not everyone is doing the steps as I'm doing them. They're just watching. But so take your time later on when you do it to fill out the website. So right here, I just pasted everything and I save it. And if I go to the website right now, I click in the footer privacy policy, you see it right here. And that's it. It's just a big page with a lot of text and boring content that protects you and protects your customers. And that is it. So your task today is simply to go inside your to-do task. Oh, I forgot to add this. So add content to your privacy policy and terms and conditions page. So you do this by simply, if you want to go directly inside your online store, you click on settings, you click on legal pages on the right-hand side. That's already built in. And then take the templates that you have here, go inside each of the pages, terms and conditions, privacy policy, and paste the contents within those pages. If you do not have an online store yet, you can go through the toolbox that is included inside the task here, task 1 right here, and generate those templates by yourself, and you're going to get an email with the full template that you could use. In case you're launching a store on a different platform, you can still use this, which is great. And that's all. So what you need to do is go inside Unit 2, task number 2. Judge Judy's right there. She loves those legal pages. And make sure that you do this as your task for day 14. And now we're going to move on to some questions. Let me see if this is the most boring topic in e-commerce, yet it has to be done. All right, so lots of familiar faces. Ali, Oban, good to see you guys. Felicitas, Sharina, Bilal, Masai Pane. Excellent, excellent. So the question Katrina has is, how often should you update the privacy and change the date at the top? Look, there is no, just like the battery in your smoke detector, make it a habit of verifying it every year. If you're not changing anything, then leave the date, or you can just say last updated or last revised. This way you just keep track of it. But again, I highly recommend that if you're involved in e-commerce, just stay on top of all of the laws pertaining to privacy, spam laws. In the US, you're dealing with a lot of accessibility for the disabled people online. There's a lot of rules always changing. And honestly, with the way things have been going with, let's say, Facebook trust issues, and you remember over the last year, we've had that. A lot of these websites, a lot of the authorities on the internet are becoming a lot stricter than ever before. So make it a habit of educating yourself about these topics, and by just going to the government websites for email, for all that stuff. So once a year, just spend some time and just take it from there. And you can ask your lawyer if you have one, but don't speak to just anybody. Speak to someone who is familiar with electronic commerce laws, because those laws are different. So for when it comes to accounting, I say speak to someone who's familiar with the taxes and the e-commerce world. And when it comes to legal advice, speak to someone who has experience with online businesses. But again, as a disclaimer, please do not take my recommendations as speak to an expert. I'm just pointing out some ways that you can go about it, but the final say should be from an expert within the local area where you're located. It's better. Any additional questions? And we're going to get ready tomorrow for day 15. So tomorrow we're going to be setting up shipping. On Saturday, we're going to set up payment and taxes. And on Sunday, we're going to take care of customer service. And then we have only 4 days left. And the last 4 days of this challenge are going to be made towards dealing with some marketing initiatives. We're not talking about advertising. We're not talking about what should you post and all that stuff. All I'm going to do is show you how to go about building a Facebook page, setting up an Instagram account, setting up your email software and analytics. This is not a digital marketing challenge. Digital marketing is a beast on its own, but I would like to make sure you're set up properly so that if you decide to pursue this, you already have taken care of the good foundation, making sure that everything is in place for you to start posting, for you to start doing ads in the future, and making sure that everything runs as expected. So that's the schedule from now. It's almost over. So until next week. All right, let me just make sure to see if there are any other questions before I let you go. So Felicita is asking, just a review, Alaa, after the 90-day trial, I plan to launch it in my country after 6 months. Will I pay Shopify after the trial before? Yeah, so unfortunately, things worked out in our favor right now because of the fact that they are allowing you 90 days. But what you see, this challenge wouldn't have worked usually because of the fact that Shopify would only give you a 14-day trial. So I decided 21 days, and then I realized, oh, wow, they're giving you now 90 days trial. So it worked in our favor. You can buy the basic account of $30. I think that's what it is. I don't know if there's something cheaper, but here's my thought process behind this. If you start paying for something, that's when you're going to start taking it seriously. If something is free, you're just going to delay it. You're not going to see the value. You're not going to push yourself. So sometimes as soon as you start seeing the credit card payment come through, you're like, okay, I shouldn't waste money. Let me just push myself in launching it. And sometimes I'm telling you, I've been in that situation. This challenge itself, I simply decided to launch it and let's go with it. And eventually you start tweaking it, you start improving things, because let's face it, when you launch your store, it's not like you're going to have 1,000 people come into the website from day one. So you'll need a week to make sure that everything is rolling and things are progressing properly. So again, the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks of you launching an online store, don't expect big sales. Just make sure that at least everything is working and there are no errors happening on the site. So that's what I would tell you. You will have to pay after 90 days. And I think, again, don't quote me, I think you have to pay as soon as you decide to launch the store and you're going to start being transactional. That's what I remember. But in any case, if you're serious about this, it's only $30 to get started, which is far less from compared to how much it would cost you if you were thinking about launching a business, like let's say a brick and mortar, a physical store, or any type of business. For $30, if you think about it, it's simply a joke. So that's what I would have to say about this. Hopefully that answers your question, Felicitas. Any additional questions? We've added a bunch of members. Yesterday I posted in my Facebook group, so a bunch of people started coming into the group. And what's interesting right now is a lot of people are simply discovering the world of e-commerce. And I've been in it for now it's going to be 19 years. And only this year, I truly feel that everyone now feels that they need to learn about the skill of owning or building or creating or just understanding how the online world can help you build some sort of business or transact online, whatever it might be. So e-commerce is becoming this phenomenal popular topic right now. And I'm very happy to hear that people are now embracing it and wanting to learn that skill of understanding what it takes to conduct online transactions. So online commerce is the future, as you guys know. I don't see any more questions. Excellent. So again, beautiful, quick session today. I wish you guys a great evening, and I'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. once again, and we're going to talk about shipping. Take care and have a nice evening. Bye-bye.